Hi guys, Joseph here from Jouleconcepts. How are we doing today? So today we're going to look at something interesting, something that architects use. So if you are into architectural designs and building designs, you know that um, floor plan is something key for a visualizer to be able to work with. So in this tutorial, we're going to look at how to take up floor plans and build up the floor plan into getting a proper wall designs like you can see here in my viewports and all of this to scale. So before you get into the video, I would like to implore you to please share this video, like it, make comments if you have any other better ways to doing this because you don't know who might learn from you. And if you are new to my channel, please do subscribe because I do tutorials like this every day. So without further ado, let's just get into the tutorial. All right, so the first thing I'm going to do is to select all by hitting A and then press delete to delete all of these things. Seen. And now another thing is if I hit N on my keyboard and show my views, it's going to show me the unit I'm working with. All right, so I want to, yours might be in meters. Just come to the scene tab here, click on units. You want to make sure you are using millimeters. So mine is in meters. I want to change it to millimeters. Right, so that everything now is calibrated in millimeters. You can see the difference between the meters and now the millimeters. And why is so the unit you're using is up to you. All right. So for architectural design, I'm comfortable working with I'm comfortable working with millimeters. So that's why. So the next thing is I want to bring an image. I have floor plans that I've downloaded from Google. So well, I want to bring the image into this place so that I can use that image as reference to create my floor plans and build from there. But then the thing is, if I'm to bring an image, if I hit Shift A and I come to this image, I only have reference and background. I don't want to have a reference. I don't want to have a background. I want to have it as a plane so that I can modify it at will. So for me to do that, I'll click on Edit, Preferences, and go to the Add-on section. I want to type images, and there's this option to import image as reference as planes. All right. So once I import an image, go to bring them as plane. And that's what will help us. By the way, I'm using 4.0, Blender 4.0 version. So now if I hit Shift A and I come to images, you can see I now have this third option, images as plane. So I'll click here. Then it tells me to navigate to where the image is. So I have it there. So I've downloaded a couple of image floor plans on Google. So you can also search on Google. So I'll pick one of them. I say this, click, and now this image is right here. But now the thing is, it's not showing me those texture because in my solid shaded view, it's just showing me the materials and whatnot. So I need it to show the texture which is inside that material. So I'll click here and then I have option to change for the color from material to texture. And then I will see the texture right here. So now the next thing I'm going to do is I want to be able to scale this image because right now if I scale this image by hitting S, notice it's scaling out and into these origin points. And that's not what I want. I need a reference object that I can use to get the length or the dimension of this image itself. Because if I select this, you notice that the image in itself is just 1200 millimeters to 1000 millimeters. It's really small. All right. So for a floor plan, it's small. So I need to get a reference length here that I can use. For architectural drawing, there are some standards that you can use. So I know for a fact that doors have their standards. Okay, they have their standards. So um, you can just go to Google. I've gone ahead to make some search standard exterior door sizes in millimeters. So you can see that we have different width and height. We have 762, 838, 813, 864, and then 915. So I'm going to use the highest or the largest size here for my exterior and then to get a reference plane. So don't forget this value. This is 915 millimeters. So if I go back to Blender And if you analyze this floor plan, this is a door that goes to the exterior, right? So we can tag this the exterior door. So I'll just pick one of the ones going on. You can see that this looks bigger compared to this ones inside, all right? These are interior doors, but this one is larger, so I'll just use this as a reference. So I need to bring my cursor to this point, and then that cursor will in turn allow me to bring the origin points here that I can now start scaling up. So for me to bring the cursor, just click on this cursor icon on your toolbox here or your toolbar, and then click anywhere here, just the line. And then I have my cursor there. At this point, if I scale, it's still scaling from this origin point. But the good thing is now I have this cursor added there. Just right click and you see set origin to 3D cursor. As soon as I do that, the origin is set here. If I scale this up now, it's not scaling up into that point. I'm going to change this back to selection box so that I don't accidentally move this cursor point. And now the good thing with this cursor point being here now is that if I add any other object now, the object will be added to the location of this cursor point, right? So now if I scale, you notice it's scaling from that door section, and that's good. So let's quickly add the plane objects, and that plane object is added to that point. You can see and builds up there. So if I go to edit mode, what I want to do is I want all these points to merge them into one and then put them in the center, which is here. So there are two ways. I can either right click, you see merge, or I can use the shortcut M, which will show us this menu. And then I'm going to merge at center. Then all the points now merges to becoming one point here. And that's what we want. So while we have this merged at that center, we want to extrude the point up. So we use E for extrusion, but because we want this extrusion to go vertically up, you can see the axis, the green axis is the Y. You hit Y and then you go to the length. You remember the length is 915, sorry, the width of the door. So I'll just type 915, press enter. So this is the actual width of the door. But you can already see that is big compared to floor plan itself. So I'll hit tab to go back to my object mode. And now I want to scale this up. I want to scale this up to meet this so that the door's width will be there. So once I have this select, I can come to this same menu, turn on my X-ray mode so that it just quickly go to X-ray. And I can also reduce this so that by the time I'm scaling up, I can see the line scaling to. So let's quickly start scaling. I'll just S to scale. I'm scaling this up. So we still have this right there. So come again, S again to scale. So we'll continue to scale. You see that it goes beyond. Come back, S scale this down till it scales to that length of the door. And that is how you will scale up your image to that reference plane. So now that I have this done, um, that's pretty much it for scaling up our image plane, and then we can now start working. So this same plane is what we're going to use to get the dimension out. So let's just go to edit mode and then select this point, grab that here all the way to this point here. So for me to be sure that they're on the same level, so just select this point, hit 10 key, go to this value. You can see that along our y-axis, this is 915. If I select this, you see this is not 915, so it's not. We need to make sure that the y value they are the same. So we just come here 915, so that we are sure that they are on the same level. So while we have this, we can now start extrusion to get all of the dimensions out. So we'll go back to edge, select that edge, E for extrusion, constrain it to Y so that we can go up. We'll click. I want to have this every time I have a transition, I'm going to extrude there. So EY again, extrude all the way there, select this edge. This time I'm coming horizontally. You can see from this axis horizontal is X. So let's quickly do that. EX, extrude to this point. EX, extrude to this point. We do not need this, but we just do this because we want to know where all the panels are. EX. So what I'm just doing is I'm hitting EX to extrude along the horizontal. So do the same thing EX. So for every time I want to extrude along the vertical, it's going to be EY. EX, EX. So this is how I'm going to go on to finish up my floor plan. Sorry, I made a mistake there. EX. I went to press ES. EX, EX. So that I do not keep wasting our time, we can just continue with this. I'm going to put the next thing in time lapse so that you will just see the process while I'm extruding this. So for all the vertical ones, don't forget I'm extruding using EY, and for the horizontal ones will be EX. Okay, EY for this last one. So again, I'll just go to time lapse and then you can continue watching. So at this point, I quickly want to go off the time lapse so I can explain here for you. If you notice this edge here, and I hit my N key, you notice that along the x-axis, it has a value. The value is 0. If I select this, you notice that this value is not totally 0. So I need to make sure that they are on the same level along x. So I'll just make this 0. So it's going to shift that. And also this edge, the value is this. So I'll just copy this value for the x, Control C, and then make sure I paste that same value here, Control V. And you see a little bit of shift. And why is because by the time I'm extruding this, I want them to be on that same level. So I'll just EY, extrude this here, EY, extrude. So I will just extrude this to this point a little bit. And now I can move these guys here. So what I'm just going to do is I will go to my point mode, turn on my snap tool, snap to vertex, then I can select this guy. G, you can snap to that point. Select this also G and then snap to that point. So right now at this point, there are 2 points here because if I select one point and I move, see, there are 2 points. So I need to merge them together. So I'll highlight and then M to merge center, highlight this also M center. So now if I select these points, I have them match, not 1 point anymore. So it's a very important thing to note. So it's actually still good while we're here. So now to explain it before I go back to the time lapse, so you notice the reason why I stop at every of these junction is because I know that I'm still going to be doing some extrusion inwards like this. So that's why I kept stopping at all of these points where we are going to be having walls going in and all this. And now it's going to really help, even though I forgot to stop here, but this is not a bad thing. I can just use my control R for loop cuts and then cut at this point. Control R again, loop cut, cut at that point. So either of this option works. Maybe you want to first do the overall shape before you start cutting, or you want to just stop at every section. Let me turn off my snap. Won't stop at every section of this. So I notice that there's a shift in this value. So I want to check the Y value, 401, copy. I think it's, no shift, actually. It just, it's my eye. It feels like there is, okay, because my selection, it feels like there's a complex. So now that I have this, I'll go back to my edge mode. You see why that is important now. If I select these points, I can extrude here. See that? And that will help me do everything good. So if I select this guy and this by holding down Shift and maybe even, mm, we'll come back to this in a moment. So I can extrude both downwards, EY again to extrude because I know both of them are going to be connecting. So that's why I selected both at the same time. So if I come to this place, I can EX to extrude to this point, EX again, EX, extrude to that point, EX to this point. So I'm just getting all of this out. So by the time I'm trying to export everything, be nice. So while I have this and this, you can use F to fill that point. All right. So that's another way you can do that. So F will just fill the edge and then you have that. So what I'll just do is select this edge, look at the value along my X. So this is minus this. I'll copy this, make sure I paste it to the same guy. See that? Okay. So I'm going to extrude this downward. So I just Y, extrude this here. So I will EY again to extrude this all the way here. EY, extrude here, then EY, extrude there. And then I can continue my extrusion because it's still the same guy. I'm going to merge this. Let me just go into one, merge this, M center, select this, M center. So go back to 2 for these points, EY, so extrude this here. So this is basically how you will continue extruding this till you are fine. Okay, so I'll also go back to time lapse again to continue my work. Then I'll come back. All right, so I am done with this now. I'm done with this. So if I go out to object mode and you can see the floor plan, everything is right here. See, this is basically it for this floor plan. So what we need to do now is to start to get the walls out. And now basic wall heights in architecture is basic floor is 3 meters to maybe 3.3 meters. All right, so you can just type standard um, floor heights, and then it's going to give you. You can also say in because you're working in millimeters. So you can see 3 meters, which is 10 feet. All right, so that's the basic standard height, which is the standard. All right, so what we're going to do is we need to extrude all of these guys up 10 meters. Sorry, 3 meters, which is 3,000 millimeters. All right. So if we go back to edit mode, you can tell where the walls are. These are the openings for the windows, and these are for the walls. All right. So what we're going to do is we are going to go to face mode, select all of these faces. We might need to turn off this. So select all of these faces which will house, which are the walls. Okay. Select this, select all of these guys, remove this because this will not be in our selection. So all the basic walls without the openings. I mean, this is an opening, so this is wall, this is wall. And I'll also do the same thing and select this. These are walls. I'm going to remove this, that's opening. So you are seeing what we're doing is just to now start to pick all the things that we need, which are the walls that we're going to be extruding up. I need these guys. All these are coming up, and this is also coming up. These are walls, so they are basically coming up. Okay, so here I'm going to leave this because this is a partition wall, so we're going to create that later on. So just select all of these guys. I'm actually thinking we can bring everything up and then we'll start to, okay, let's bring everything up. Just hit A on our keyboard to select everything. And the only thing we're going to leave is, okay, let's bring everything up. So once we have all this guy, we just use our E for extrude. And if it's not defaulting up to the Z, just type Z. But if it is defaulting to Z, no issue, just leave it at that. So I'm going to extrude this up. While I'm going up, I want to put the length, which is 3000. So 3000, and then press enter. That will bring the height up. So that's 3000. All right. So we have all of these. We're going to have our door here. We're going to have windows in this case, because if I put on my um, X-ray, we're going to see where we're going to be having our windows. So this is going to be the window section. We're going to have a window here, and all these points we're going to have doors. All right. So that's how you will get your building up like so. So the next thing is, let's see how we will start to bring our doors and our windows and then our panels. All right. That's the next thing we want to look at. So we could decide to model this. Oh, there's no problem in that, but we can also utilize a plugin in Blender, which will allow us bring these things out. And for that to be seen, I need to first off enable the plugin. So if I go to edit and preferences, I just need to type Archimesh and I will enable my Archimesh. As soon as I enable this Archimesh, I'm going to see um, it will pop up on this side. So let's just save a preference, close. So now if I go to object mode, I have this create option here. So if I click on this create, I'm going to see this Archimesh. So we have all of this to create. So we have the door, we have the windows and all of that. So let's start with the door. So I'll click on door. Then Archimesh will give me a door. You can see the door right here. So first off, while I have this door selected, I can go and change the dimension of the door. So if I drag this door, so after creating it, it's going to have a selected panel and the frame. So you see, we have the height for the door, and then we have the um, frame size, the thickness, and also the width for that door. Remember the width we use for this door, we used 915. All right. So in this case, this is giving us in meters. So this is 1. So what we can do is we want to change this to the corresponding millimeters value. All right, we want to change this corresponding millimeter values, which is 0.915. So it's going to be 0.915, and that will reduce the width like so. Then talking about the height. So a basic door size height, we have different heights. So you can see we have 2.03 meters, 2.08 meters, and all of that, or 2.13 meters. So I'm going to go with the biggest one because since I'm using 915, so it's appropriate for me to use this. So I'll just use the 2.1 meters. You can just approximate this. So I'll come to the height. So it's actually giving us the appropriate height. You can see 2.1 meters. So, and I think that's pretty much it for this. And we will duplicate and start changing accordingly for these guys. But now we have this door. Now the good thing is you can make it right open or left open or both side open and all of that. So then let's just quickly rotate this into place. So RZ to rotate this guy. Sorry. I think we have this option to change the rotation. Yeah, we can just rotate this guy right here. So let's just make this 90 degrees. And also, you need to know the direction of opening. So because this is telling us we have to open this way, all right? So that means the door is opening this way. This is where the handle will be, and so that it can open that way. So that's correct. If we were, if the intention is to open this way, what we just need to do is to change the door handle to this, all right? But now this is fine because we're opening in that direction. So that's done. Hold down Alt to snap to this height and the top view, and then we can move this right here. So how do we move? Just select the group objects, which is this door group. Hold down Alt to move this here, and then GX to, sorry, Y to move along this. If you notice that it is actual size, all right? That's the actual size for that door. And then we can also use our move tool to move this in place so that the door can be housed inside the wall. Okay. I think I will prefer it being housed inside like so. And I want to make sure that the handle is just the amount I'm having there is also the amount I'm having here. I think this is fine. So once we have this done, I need to can duplicate this and position them in various positions, and then we can now start to um, explode. But then let's just work with this. We can, for every time we need, we can just click on door again. All right. So let's quickly get this open. Now, the way this door is created is that we have the hole, which can be used to open up the hole for the wall. So you can see that right there. So all I just need to do is just select this guy. Once I have it selected, go to modify. So I'm talking about the wall now. Select the wall, go to modify, and then go to generate Boolean. And then for the Boolean, I want to select this hole and I'll click on this object under the object for difference, click on this eyedropper, click on the control hole, and it's going to use that to create that hole, right? And so for every holes I'm going to be creating, I have to add more Booleans to add that. Or I can change this to collection, and then I have all of my doors in position, then I'll use the collection to put that. I think that's what I'll just do. But just to show you, you have, if it is just one object you want to sort out, you have this done. So let's create more doors and then position them appropriately, and then we can now start to close. All right. So let's do that. Um, I will go back. So while nothing is selected, go back to the door, create another door. Another door is created. So let's just position this for this place. Use our move tool. Make sure this is selected. So while that is selected, I'm going to move it into position. G to move. I want to move this here. So you can already see that the size of this door is bigger than what we have here, right? So, and also the handle opening is correct. We just need to change the size. So I'll just select the frame or the door, whichever one. Once I select this frame, I can come here and start to change the width of this frame. So let's change this down to get the appropriate size. So this is more like 0.88. So let's see. So we have 0.86. So we just go with that 0.86 because that's the closest. So while we have that done, I will position this correctly, and then we can now have another size door. Doesn't have to be perfect, just make it close. And then for the 8.6, again, don't forget it has its own height. So the we have 2.08. All right. So don't forget this is not up to 2.1. This is 2.08. So what we can do is just change the height to 2.08. So it just reduces the height a little bit. Okay. So that is done. So I think this size is what we're now going to be using for every other one because they are kind of the same size. So what we'll just do is select this door, and while it's selected, right click, select hierarchy. So it's going to select every of the children inside it. So while these guys are selected, if I go to my top view, I can duplicate and position them appropriately. So Shift D, have a duplicate. I'll put the duplicate here. Press my Y so that it's going to constrain it vertical, sorry, horizontal that way. So we have that. It's still selected, right? So we'll have to duplicate to different places again. So I still need like three more. One, two, three for all the interior doors. These ones we are going to look at this later on. So we will come back again, Shift D, duplicate this somewhere here, and then change we are going to change rotation later. Let's just duplicate them into the appropriate positions first, then we'll start to duplicate. All right, so you see this. So this handle should be here so that I can open this way. This handle is where it's fine where it is. This handle should be here, while this handle should be here. So let's work on this first. Select this, and then let's change the rotation such that the handle is somewhere here. So we'll bring the rotation. See, once we bring the rotation to 90 degrees, but the handle is in the wrong position, so we change this to left. So the handle is now positioned correctly. So let's do same thing for this. We'll rotate this 90 degrees. The handle is fine where it is. Select this 90 degrees. The handle is not fine, so we change the handle to left, and that's that. So we need to just now start positioning them correctly. So let's select this first. And then we can use our move tool, move Y to just position this correctly like so. And I feel this is still big. This is big. So let's check this door. We might move this to the front a little bit. Select this. Let's check that. So we might need to still come and choose a smaller size, which is the 7.6. So let's try 7.6. So the width will be 0.76. All right, so this is perfect, 7.6. So the height for the 7.6, we know that it is 1.98 or 1.98. So we just come here, 1.98. And that will do that. So this also, I think, is the same. This is 7.6. So we just come to 0.76. And this is the height will be 1.98. So while we have this done, let's just position this correctly and just move this. So this is how you work with your dimension to make sure everything is perfect. So the same thing for this. I can tell that all these ones are the same sizes, so we'll just come in 0.76 and then 1.98. And then we'll now come back, select this group, position this like so. I think that's pretty much it for all the doors, all the interior doors. All right. So what we'll do is we'll put everything inside a collection and then change our boolean to collection. All right. So right now this is the only thing that is being cut. So I think another thing we'll do is I need to, now that I've positioned this, I need to move them in. All right, because right now they are not into the wall. So let's move this in to the wall. So I'll select this guy, move this in so that it's in the wall like so. And then I'll select this also, move this in the wall like so. I can select this one and just hit period. I can go and select the group from here, move this into the wall like that. Okay, so these ones are correctly in the wall. So now I'm fine with this. Oh, I need to make sure this is also in the wall. And dots, go to the group, move this so that the two handles are out, like so. I think this is remaining this one. And just select anything here. Dots, go to the group, and to make sure that the other handle is also coming out a little bit, like so. So this is fine. So all I need to do is now move everything into the collection. So right click. So these are the doors. So right click on this, select hierarchy, and then come out here, M into a new collection. I'll call this doors. So now that is moved to doors. So I'll do the same thing for this guy. Select hierarchy, M, move this to that door collection. So I keep doing the same thing for each and every one. M door, door. So I'm just moving all of them into the door collection. So once I'm done, now I have all these doors. So if I hide them, all the doors are hidden and this is open. So what I can do now is go back to that plane, which is the wall. So instead of using the object, I'm going to close this, change this to collection, and then I want to choose the door collection. And that's just all I need to do. So let's see. Okay, so difference fast, exact. Can I execute? So let's see what contain non-mesh objects. There are mesh objects here. So it's saying it doesn't contain any mesh object. So it's reading the this guy. That's what it's reading. So that's why it's saying it's not going to do that. So I think what I can do is if I select all of these guys like so, for instance, and I Control J to join them. Okay, so the whole I don't need. Okay, so I missed something. So it is the whole that I actually need to cut with the whole, not the whole object here. So I will need to move all the holes into their own collections. All right, so I can just search control hole, CTRL underscore hole. So it's going to show me all the holes here. So I'll select all of these holes. So sorry, I just remembered. You remember when I was doing here, it's the hole that I actually using cutting through. So I'll select all the holes and put them in their own collection and call these holes. So all the holes are in their own collections, okay, even though the doors are here, but the holes are in their collection. So if I go back to this, and instead of the door, I can change them to the hole, and that will cut through. Yeah. So if I hide all my doors, I still have the hole. So that's actually what I needed to have done. Okay. So we have this. So the next wall I'm going to be bringing, or the next doors I'm going to be bringing, I'll be putting them in the hole. Even for the windows, I'm going to be putting them in the whole collection, just the hole, so that I can use that to create the opening. So now we have that done. The next thing is let's look at the windows. All right. So we know that we have one window here, and we have another window there and there and there. So let's just quickly create those windows. So for that to, I can also create window by creating these types of windows. So I'll just create a real window. So real window is more of a sliding window. And then we can quickly position this window where it should be. So let's select this, make sure the window is selected. We have one window here. Grab of this right here. There's one window here, there's another window here. So let's quickly work on these windows. So for the window, I will select the panel, and then I'll be able to see the settings of the window. So this is the panel, and that will give me the setting. For this window, we can also set the rotation. So let's just make this 90. And then we can also set the width, because right now the width is really big. So let's bring the width down just so that we can look at the dimension of our floor plan. So that's fine. And we have our seal. So now we know that this window is here. We can set how high the window is. So maybe I want my window to be like 1.2 high. And then I can just move this up a little bit. So, we have this from the ground. So we could quickly check the normal sail heights. And it's going to give us the normal sail height of it. So sail height is more like the height of the window from the floor. So window doesn't start from the ground. There's a particular height of wall you have before the window comes up. So that's what the sail height is. So if you see here, a standard typical window, you have the sail height going from 900 mm to so it's basically like 900 mm sort of. You also have some 800. So we'll go with the 900 mm. So how we'll do this is just move this guy up. GZ, move it up and type 900. And that will be the height of my window, right? The seal height of that window. So while we have this done, I can just highlight this, select everything like so, and then we can duplicate so that we can get this. Shift D Y, and that will give us this. These are more like the same dimension. Shift D again and get this one. They are kind of same dimension. And then I'm going to duplicate Shift D, move this here, change this, rotate this way, can either be this way or that way. So I'm thinking this should come out. So move like that. And then GX to just move this up like that. GY to move this in. So this is more like, I think this should come out. This is actually supposed to be the other way. Rotate this, holding down control. So that's the panel that stays outside. So gx of y. So this is how it's meant to be. So we might need to go back and cross-check all of these guys. So highlight, select all. So you can see the orientation is wrong. And then G, Y, just to position that. So we'll do the same thing for all these guys. R, and that's good. Select this point, right click, select hierarchy, R, hold down control to snap. And that is basically it for this. I think we still have any window here. All these are their panels. So we're going to, so I need one more window right here. So it's still selected Shift B. We can move this here. And then we can rotate this, hold down Control so that this is out. G to move this. So you notice that this window is bigger in terms of size, is wider. So we have to do the same thing. So select the panel itself and then come to the width, increase the width till it gives us the actual width we are looking for. Select all, GY, just to put that into position. So let's do what we did again. Let's bring all these windows and create our openings, right? So you already know we have all these control holes. So we'll do that for all the windows. Hold down Control to select the control holes. So now we have all of these control holes selected, and then come to M, put them in the holes. Once we do that, it will automatically create the opening. So you see that I really do not need to create a separate hole since we are running the same operation on these. So for every hole control that I have, I'm just going to be putting them into that control holes and then it will cut through for this. So the next thing is this panel. If I take this back to, you notice right here, there is a panel here. So we want to create this panel. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So this is like a curtain wall, curtain panel that goes more like the normal height of a door, right? So we want to create that curtain panel. So what we will use in creating that is panel windows. They are still considered as windows, but not just the normal this thing is just panel windows. Um I'm seeing this. Oh, these are curtains. So let's just create this panel window, and then it's going to bring the panel window here, and let's move that panel window into position. So I can just select this group, G to move this right here. And so this is how the panel window looks like. So you can see how it looks like. Let's just move it out first. You see? All right. So we want to quickly create that. So we know that we have how many panels? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 panels. And so for me to do that, just select this panel and then you have the settings. All right. So let's quickly work on this. So for the horizontal, it's saying we have 3. So that's what we have here. So we want to make this 6. And then we have 6 horizontal panels. But then we are seeing some things which we might start to look at changing. So for the vertical, maybe we want to have one vertical panel, so that's not a problem. So we just need to come in and set the height of that panel. So let's see. Um, Select this. So while this is selected, we can come here, outer frame, riser. So this vertical would tell us how many of these we are going to have. So I think we should just go with this because of time. So we'll have that done here. So let's see the settings you have here. So this is the outer frame. You can set how wide you want your outer frame to be. So I'll go with the default. Riser is 5. So please, you see, the riser also you can change how wide you want your riser to be. 5 is the default. So maybe I will go with 3. And then for the inner frames is 2. So you can set how much you want the inner frame to be. So this is, I think it's fine. So for the seal, you have a height. Okay, so just leave that at 20, 0, nothing is changing. So just change this back. So I think I will go with this setting right here. And we just need to position this appropriately. So come here, go to my X-ray mode. So I will just position this here. So I feel that the width is not wide enough. So let's see a setting that we can use to change the width. Let's move this out a little bit. Select this panel. Separation. Okay, so okay, I think this is where the frame is. The width, let me see, 190. Okay, so this is the height, 190, and then the difference 110. Okay, so 110. So we have this, but I'm seeing some. Okay, so this is the first part. This is the first, and this is the second. This is the third. So we can actually use this to increase this guy. So and this is the fifth and fourth. So I want to have equal dimension for all of them. So let's try 65 all through 65, 65. So this just giving us the dimension of all the, and let's see if it still meets this width. So actually, obviously, it's not meeting the width. So we can come again. Let's try 80 all through. So what I could have done is just to measure that point. I think that's what I'll just do so that I don't do this trial and error. So what I will do is go back here. Let's quickly measure this guy. So I can deselect. I'll just use my measure tool and measure from here. So Control Z, measure from here to here so that I can get a sense of. So this is like 880. So you can see that it's 880. So I'll select this panel and change this 88. 88. I'm hitting tab. And that will give me that width. Okay, let's just round this off. 90, 90, 90, 90, 90. And that should still not meeting it. So we might have to still continue. So let's try, should be 100, not 300. And 100 is too much. 95, 95, 95. So I think 95 works. Yeah, 95 works. So we can just select this group and then move this along my X. Yeah, it's perfect. And 5 works. So we will just move this into position. And then we can also move this back in. Let's just have something like that. So what we need to do, remember that we just have to move this hole into the hole, and then we'll have our cutting wall opening here for this section. So you see, gradually we are building off this till we are going to continue all the way to get all of your openings and all that. So that's how you can get your floor plans into this place to quickly build up your what's it called? Your dimensions and walls and all of that. So I'm going to stop the tutorial here because it's becoming too long. So if you feel this was helpful, please do give me a like and a thumbs up. And if you're new to my channel, please do subscribe because I do tutorials like this every day. Do have a wonderful day and God bless you. Bye.